This is Capturing Light, episode number 142 with Nicole Simmons.
Welcome to Capturing Light, a director of photographers podcast, spotlighting cinematography tips, tools, and techniques, inspiring and educating filmmakers like you so you can illuminate your vision. And now, your host, Les Gaddis.
Welcome to the Capture Light podcast. I'm your host, Les Gaddis, and today we are talking to Nicole Simmons, a cinematographer based in DFW. She has filmed a few features. I've worked with her on a few features as well, and she's just fantastic to work with. It's always cool talking to people that you know, friends, colleagues, and she's pretty dope. So I enjoyed this conversation. I think you will too. Here's that conversation with Nicole Simmons. All right, so I want to thank Nicole Simmons to the Capture Light podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. Golden life and all that good stuff.
Golden life?
Yeah, I always say that it's my go-to, regardless, because I want to try to stay positive about most stuff.
Okay, staying positive. I like it. So let's start with how you got into the industry. I mean, you DP'd some features and things, but how did you start?
So like I started with cameras and stuff when I was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how you just have the family camera? Nobody used it but me. And so like I decided, I was like, well, this is what I want to do now. And I went to a broadcast camp over a summer. Like my basketball coach found out that's what I wanted to do, so she like got me in this camp. And then I thought I wanted to like engineer like sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going to engineering camp, but I did not get to do sound engineering. It was like for real engineering, like chemical type stuff, and I was like I was like, this is very boring. But, just mainly once I got that camera and did the broadcast thing, like I knew I didn't really want to do news, but I knew I still wanted to be in the thing, so in this industry. And so I ended up going to UNT and majoring in film there. And then after that, going to the Art Institute. And just at every level of it, I became more and more passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to do within the industry. And so I was really like doing a lot of videography and just kind of helping out with other projects and just playing whatever role I needed. And got a chance to shoot a series in 2019. And that's when I was like, okay, I wanted the DP, creating, like, being able to create the mood, tell the story through the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And the lighting, and that's where like I really found like the real passion.
So that was the moment.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, like, I mean, because I didn't know. I was just trying to get content we had a Roku channel, so I was like asking people trying to get content, and I just ended up shooting it.
Mm-hmm. And
then in 2021 or something, I was doing audio, and the DP on this feature dropped out, and I had a camera because of 2019. I had upgraded my camera and stuff, so I was ready to shoot, and that was the first feature I got to DP with the title.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, you never know how sometimes you can, be in one position and then an opportunity opens up and you're prepared and you meet that opportunity.
Yeah, because, I mean, who would have thought? I thought I was going to do it for like a day or two, and he just ended up not coming back. And so...
Wow. And since then, like, how many, I guess, features have you worked on? Like, are you working on? Because, you didn't just stop there. I mean, you've done more after that.
Yeah. So, after that, I did So in total, I have DP'd 5.
From 2019? Or what was that?
20, maybe. Yeah, 20. We were still wearing masks. So I feel like it was 20.
So you're averaging like 2 films a year.
Yes, and I think like it's good because I feel like getting on set and I call it getting my reps in, and just kind of getting that fundamental, like shooting through, making sure you're getting your coverage, like how you understand the story, how you prepare, all that type of stuff. So yeah, so far, I mean, it really has been kind of about 2 a year, and then also I've been like cam opping or working on or acing on other features too, and still like on stuff like that. I mean, I've worked with you a lot, so those are like getting reps in too, and just like learning and seeing the things that you like, learning the stuff that you don't know. And so like I guess over the past, what's that, 3 years, I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to count without really sitting and going through. So there's at least 5, and then 2 with you. So that's 7.
Oh wow.
And that's just in the past year. Those two features with you and a series. So that's just.
Oh, let's not talk about the series.
So that's and that's just a year and a half.
Right.
And like even we did a partial thing that didn't get finished. So
right.
Like,
that's funny. So for those that don't know, Nicole and I, we finished a series which was something like 56, 57 days. I lost count, but that was our summer. And Nicole is a DP of one of the episodes, and she also cam opped other episodes as well. So I appreciate you for that.
Listen, I had fun this summer. It wasn't a perfect summer, but it was fun, and it definitely was a learning experience.
Right. So from like kind of switching gears to things that the audience can learn from, what have you learned in your journey in cinematography that you, like, if someone is asking you, hey, I haven't directed or DP'd anything, I'm maybe a film student, like, what would you tell them to maybe save them some time, money, heartbreak?
I think if they're trying to get into it and all, I don't believe that you have to go to school if you haven't, but educate yourself. Like, for me, I mean, I did go to school, but also there was a lot of things I didn't know. And so, one, with the way that information is now, like when I started, obviously YouTube wasn't as big as it is, and I didn't have the references and stuff like that. But I would figure out exactly what it was I was trying to do, and like immerse myself in that. And the other thing is get a mentor, somebody who knows something more than you. And that's something that the advice I wish I'd have taken or known about a long time ago. But now I have one, and I have a couple of people. I have a mentor in you, and a few people that I can call and ask questions to if necessary. Because honestly, if it wasn't for some of the people that I've networked with and stuff like that, like, those moments don't happen. So if it wasn't for a recommendation, even for like an audio thing from somebody else who I was just on set with and they just recommended me for audio, then that DP job doesn't happen. Right. If I had never been on the radio, like I was on a radio show for like a year, almost 2 or something like that, then like, I can't remember what I was thinking, but something else doesn't happen if I never did that. And so, like, building the relationships, being open to, like, asking questions and getting critique and all that type of stuff, and then just immersing yourself in what it is you are trying to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't, like, go to school. Like, that would be the first thing. And then go out and do it. Like, nowadays, most of us have resources.
Mm-hmm.
We have friends with cameras. We have friends with lights. Renting is not quite as hard depending on where you're renting from.
Right.
So, yeah, go out and shoot something. Because shooting through a scene is a skill. Like, understanding the story, shooting the scene, making sure you got the coverage, stuff like that. Those are things that, like, the first time you do it, you'll be like, oh, I should have.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll remember next time, or you'll, so.
Right. So what's the hardest thing that has, I guess, been part of your journey as a cinematographer?
I think the hardest thing is, like, valuing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that monetarily, and just, like, accepting where you are and being confident in that.
Right.
So for me, like, while I have shot and I have experience in this and that, and there's times that I look at my work and I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Or I might do something and then I'll learn something very quickly after that and be mad at myself because I didn't do it on something else. But having to take a step back and being like, okay, yes, you could be better, but this is not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you deserve to ask for the rates that you're asking for.
Right.
Because you're gonna be better this time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal every time I walk in the door, even if I shot yesterday, is to be better today.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two hardest things, is just making sure that, like, that I have the confidence that I deserve what I'm asking for.
Right. No, for sure. What is a skill that you're still working on, that you're like, okay, I'm actively, trying to get better at X or Y or Z?
I mean, I feel like I'm trying to get better overall at just at being a cinematographer overall, just all of the aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
But really, more specifically, I want to get I want to learn a little bit more technical things,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I lean more to the creative part of it. But if you know the technical things and the ways of how to, like, create a look, or something that I didn't know about at all was what do you call it? The adjusting, when you're adjusting the lens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're tuning the lens.
Tuning the lens.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I learned really over the summer
Mm-hmm.
is, I mean, that's a thing, So if I learn of the more creative, the technical thing, then I think that enhances the creative as well, because you can utilize all of that.
Right.
So that's a big thing
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Yeah, for sure. How do you, stay inspired when, we may have a challenging project, or, like a challenging time? How do you, like, where do you get inspiration from, and how do you stay inspired?
Because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing that brings me back. Like, and when I'm on a set with the people that I know, or very nice people who are willing to, like, talk and be open about just filmmaking, and it's a good crew, like, that's the type of thing that brings you back. Because at the end of the day, any job could give you tough times, like filmmaking can do. I mean, filmmaking is a beast in and of itself, but
Right.
but I could easily be sitting at a desk every day doing something that I hate and still having those issues.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get to be creative, if I get to, you know, shoot, you know, get to touch the camera, or I'm editing that day, even though sometimes I got to get more motivated to edit.
Mm-hmm.
But then I know I can always be like, if I was doing, and I was a buyer for a fence company at the end of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if I was doing that, I'd be miserable.
Right.
So it's just better to at least do what I love, and I can control the trajectory to a certain extent.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. That's an interesting perspective for sure. And I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I stay inspired because I feel like I'm living the dream.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Interesting. So, what do you want to work on? Like, what's your ideal project? Like, is it you still want to work in the narrative space? Is it the commercial space? If, like, let me know what that is, and then what genre or what type of project.
So I want to work in the commercial space,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to work in the narrative space, but I want to, like, combine those.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, and I guess this is kind of a business strategy too, because filmmaking in the indie space is tough on money for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the commercial space pays a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to work with, like, small and medium-sized businesses where we can create narratives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every business won't fit that model, but at least you can still have some creativity in something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it'd be a little bit more consistent as far as, like, finances.
Right.
But in the narrative space, like feature filmmaking or even shorts, I just want to make probably dramas
Mm-hmm.
with social subtext.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, like
You're like, I don't want to do any more hood movies.
right, like, and there's nothing wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like, to me, and I equate it with what rap is today.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the 80s, like 80s and 90s of rap and, you know, gangster rap and stuff like that, a lot of it did have some subtext to it.
Mm-hmm.
There was a reason why they were saying the stuff, and then all of a sudden it felt like it was being glorified.
Mm-hmm.
And I equate that to the 90s hood movies.
Mm-hmm.
Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood. I wouldn't call Higher Learning a hood movie, but you know, like Poetic Justice.
Mm-hmm.
All of those had something. It was saying something, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like at some point we got to a space where we're glorifying it.
Right.
And it's not all of it, but the mainstream
Right.
is glorifying it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, I think a lot of it is the lack of knowing how to tell a story. You know, when you boil it down to that, like, you know, if you're looking at film and, you know, movies that were made in the 80s or 90s, for one, it was expensive to get done because everybody's shooting on film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which means that you need to hire professionals and pay in order to make sure that you don't F it up. But then you definitely want to make sure that your story structure is good, that you're telling the right story, that you believe in the story that you're, you know, filming. With, you know, things now, people could make films on their phones. Like, they could, you know, we could make a TikTok right now if we wanted to, or Instagram. So the actual capture of the moment isn't as strong as it was back then, as far as the level of importance,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I personally have never shot film motion. I've shot film pictures, But I know, talking to other cinematographers, it's like when you shoot film, you hear the film, start, and that's pressure.
Yeah.
Like,
You have to be very intentional.
very intentional. And like, the intention behind filming and storytelling and cinematography is, I think, one of the things that is something that creates the artistry, that when people see something and they connect with it, it's the intention behind making that film or commercial, versus just saying, hey, I want to make something because like, I want to go to a red carpet, or be a filmmaker and say that I put something on Amazon Prime or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so easy. Like, I've always said that, like, the technology is the blessing and the curse.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it wasn't for the technology, I wouldn't be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I was able to buy a Blackmagic camera and a few accessories for $8,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, now I'm in the game. Oh, you have a camera? This camera is on the Netflix approved list too. Like, if we really want to, that's why I bought it, because it was cheap enough and on the Netflix approved. Okay, cool. Like, we can do something.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the baseline. That's
Right.
just the baseline. So if we all can get, $8,000, $10,000, but we're not actually educating ourselves on the process,
Right.
then you get a lot of interesting things.
Right. So, speaking on the education, let's just say, I mean, because we went to the Art Institute, so not at the same time, but there's like higher education, higher learning. Let's throw that out of the window. Is there a place online, or what would you recommend people to do in order to get film education? If you're talking, like, I don't know, certain places on YouTube, or like certain magazines, like where would you recommend someone that's like, hey, I don't want to go to film school, or I can't afford to, but I just want to learn how, like, where would you point them to?
Now I would probably ask them, like, what is it that they're trying to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. Like, if it's, I want to do sound for film,
Mm-hmm.
then I will point them to, I can't think of that subscription I have, but they have all the techniques and tricks and stuff like that, like, for you to be able to, like, mic people and
Mm-hmm.
and different things like that. I would probably recommend getting a textbook of some sort and maybe just taking some courses.
Mm-hmm.
I took a few courses at online, probably in 21 or 22, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
from a place called Main Media.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of Main Media.
And they were like $85, $90 or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't bad. It was online. I mean, it was a live course.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you could do that and get the basics of whatever it is. Or there's now something I've got from you and considering now is the Filmmakers Academy, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go back to school, but there's some things, like, that I really wanted to dive deeper into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
And so, if you can afford that, like, that's, like $50 or $60 a month or something like that, or like $500 for the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure that the investment would be way worth it. So like, there's so many, like, people to look at out there.
Right, for sure.
So, you can almost find anything just with a search. But if you're just wanting to get, like, a foundation or something, I'll probably just take a couple of courses, because you can do that.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, that's good advice for sure. I know Filmmakers Academy. I can't remember when I told you about that, but I mean, I learned a lot from Shane. And that's a great place for anybody that's kind of wanting to do more narrative filmmaking for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but I've I've done things like, Filmmakers Academy, American Cinematography magazine, the subscription for that. Obviously stuff on YouTube, different channels and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot. So,
and I also think it depends on where you're trying to go. Like for me, I want to be a cinematographer, so definitely.
How could you say you want to be a cinematographer when you shot like 5 films?
That's that. Am I here or no? Like
Right.
that's. But what I mean though is that's what I want to do, like at the highest level.
Right, for sure.
And so now I'm trying to look at the people who are doing it at the highest level, and trying to emulate them or get the knowledge that they have, or listen to their processes and things, and understanding that it is a process. But at least you're hearing how they do it and the things that you already have in common with them, and then the things that you can take from them.
Right.
So I mean, I've started listening to a lot of podcasts too, including this one, just to hear cinematographers talk.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's part of like you were talking about, the mentorship and the journey. Where I mean, I have mentors, and sometimes it's seeing how other people do it, listening to other people, and seeing how they communicate, or how they command a set, or how they light something or shoot something. That's all super important, and just opening up yourself to that information is ultimately going to make you better.
Yeah, and you'll get some stuff that you didn't think you needed. Because one, being a cinematographer for me has had to open me up a lot in the communication realm. When I didn't grow up being super talkative, or I won't say I wasn't ever friendly, but I like making friends with, like, okay, I got my friends, I'm good.
Right.
But when you have to talk and communicate with multiple people and all that type of stuff, then you have to develop that skill.
Right.
And so that's not something that I went into cinematography thinking, because I'm behind the camera. I don't have to. But, and again, like seeing how other people approach it, and seeing how other people approach working with crew and cast and higher ups and this and that, in the good and the bad. That's a unanticipated lesson.
Right.
And an unanticipated skill.
Right.
So.
Cool. Well, I know we're coming up on time. Where can people keep up with what you're doing?
I am on Instagram at 1121 Media. That's the word 11 number 21 Media. You can catch a couple of my films on Tubi. Chloe's Pocketbook Diary and Just Between Us Girls. And I guess that's the two biggest at this point. But be on the lookout, because 24 should have a lot of projects coming.
Like the rest of them.
Like so many projects. So
right.
Yeah. Like follow me. I'll follow back.
Awesome. Well, Nicole, thanks so much for coming on the Capture Life podcast. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
So again, I want to thank Nicole for coming on the Capture Life podcast. Be sure to keep up with what she's doing. Follow her on Instagram, 1121 Media. Check out her films on Tubi, and just support her and what she's doing. If you have any questions for me, feel free to hit me up. Instagram is at Les Gaddis. You can send me an email, les@gaddisvisuals.com. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up anytime. And I mean, that will do it. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Capturing Light.
Thanks for listening to Capturing Light with Les Gaddis, a director of photographers podcast. inspiring and educating filmmakers like you so you can illuminate your vision. A Gaddis Visuals production.